The 99%. The 99%. We are 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 the 99%.
What brought you here today? The government. What do you not like about it?
Well, two things actually. Congress's apathy, Americans' apathy. You realize that in most of the elections, there's less than 55% of registered voters vote, and that out of the ones that are not registered, could be registered, there's about 25% that don't even register. So that means 25 and 45% aren't even here. So, you know, if I want to talk the talk, I need to walk the walk.
Well, you know, Occupy Wall Street started it all, and the real movement, I think, is starting. I think we forgot two important things in history, you know. Those with power want more power.
Yes.
Those with money want more money. And if we put that together, you can't put that together.
Can you explain a little more about what your sign means? I like your sign.
I think this is what's utmost necessary, you know, to stop money and power from getting together.
Okay, you're the president. You've got a very good bill, so you think. We all think you've got a good agenda. There's no way you've got a Democratic and a Republican Congress. There's no way you're going to get it through the Republicans. So you're having to start handshaking, backslapping, making deals. By the time that bill gets through, it's got so much crap added to it that it's no longer a good bill because all these, and I'm not saying this all the time, and I'm not even saying that it's the majority of the time, but this is my opinion, which is worth nothing. By the time you get it through, it's got all this crap on it. It's not a good bill for America. It's good for the people back home. Back in my home state.
The politicians'
well, here,
interests.
exactly, for their agenda. Well, here's what I'm saying. I'm an American. You need to be an American. If you want to help out Indiana or South Carolina or whoever, then you go back home and run for your state legislature.
So what brought you out here today?
I feel the country is no longer representing the people.
And what would you like to see change?
One, I think that even though the banks bailed out, repaid their bailouts, they really kicked the economy in the face and they went off stuffing their pockets with money. I don't think simply repaying is enough. They left people without jobs, a whole mortgage crisis, foreclosures, decimated the property taxes, cops, school teachers, I'm an out-of-work teacher, firemen, all those people's jobs depend on property taxes. And Wall Street left them in the lurch. And now they're hoping everybody's forgotten about it.
I think the first thing we can do actually is the jobs are the immediate thing, you know? So I think if we pass the jobs bill now, that's the first thing we can do. But that's the first step out of 100 steps, you know? So the amendment to get, you know, to separate corporation and state, I think that is one of the most important things.
What brought you out here today?
Pretty much the same thing as everybody else.
And according to your interpretation,
I'm sick and tired of all like the bullshit. The banks get bailed out. Veterans come home, they don't get jack shit. And on top of that, what really pisses me off is that the politicians, everyone's saying that we should sacrifice, that we should give up certain I stutter sometimes.
that's okay.
But no,
I do think that the movement needs more focus, needs to be more articulate. People will listen to it more. You know, you see some people are making fun of it, so we need to get some clear demands and some articulate voices and some leadership. Because I do think there needs to be a lot more financial regulation. They got bailed out, and then they bailed on us. They need transactions on financial institutions, financial transactions, so that there's some transparency. that one of the most unfair things we have in this country is the carried interest loophole, where the big hedge fund managers and people like that, any profits they make come to them as a bonus, and they only pay 15% on that.
What do you say to the argument that they are risking their money to begin with?
Well, everybody's risking everything. What do you mean they're risking their money? They're playing, their game is rigged, I think, and they're high stakes gambling with everybody's money. They got a lot more money than we do, and they're acting like we're trying to take their money. We're not, sure, so they get profits. I know that a school teacher, no one ever becomes a teacher to get rich. I know somebody on Wall Street's always going to be richer than I am, and that doesn't bother me. But the kind of profits we're talking about do bother me. And the fact that they don't return their share to the workings of this society does bother me.
They expect us to give up some of our stuff. Well, I got a question for them. What are our politicians giving up? Is their health insurance going to be cut that we pay for? Is their salary going to be cut that we pay for?
Tired of the democracy chants.
Explain. I'd love to hear what
Well,
you
we
have
don't
to say.
live in a democracy. Democracy means everyone's vote is equal, but what happens is I vote for a representative and then he votes for his things. So I've written letters to my representative and he tells me that it's his job to vote his conscience, but it's actually his job to vote my conscience.
First of all, we need to get all the fucking lobbyists out of Washington. Should not have any no lobbyists whatsoever. Two, we need to vote out every Republican and every Democrat who doesn't have the balls or the brains to realize that we need to fix this country and get it back to where it belongs. Our founding fathers said, by the people, for the people, not the corporations.
I feel like the banks, you can't have private profit and public failure. So if you're gonna fail, it's fine. I don't care if your bank fails. But you can't publicize your failure and make me pay to keep you in business and then not also publicize the profits. Because I just invested in your business. That makes me a shareholder. You now owe me money.
I am not anti-business. I am a capitalist, but I'm against corporate greed, which is exactly what's been going on the last 30 years. The Republicans and Democrats of this country have sold us out more times than I care to remember.
What do you think should change?
Everything?
Everything? Some specifics?
I don't think corporations are allowed to be people. When I can execute a corporation, then they can vote.
This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me.
Reserve by law does not get audited, nor does it pay taxes. So if we're trying to change this whole situation about why is the country going in debt, it's because the country is always in debt, because when it goes gets money, it's in debt.
And then what's your suggestion on how to change that?
Well, eradicate the Federal Reserve.
My boys aren't going to have a future if something doesn't change. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm ready to make changes. Hopefully, all of us are going to go home and make changes.
I think the first step overall just needs to be a shifting of ideals, a shifting of views, and it's the very basis of everything is leading by example, doing what you want to be true, make it all come true, and influence people by the actions around you. Like, you're doing positive things, investing money into your communities, and let people see that flourish. It'll make people step out and be like, that works, that actually fucking works.
Right.
Just having a little bit of belief in things, it'll ultimately make it work. And, the corporations, yeah, they do some pretty fucking terrible shit, but ultimately they have a lot of money, and they can do actually a lot of fucking good. So Eli Lilly, we don't really know if we can drink our water because of that. them, but our streets look really nice. Like
That's right. But their employees do get to clean our streets.
Continuing the shift. Continuing the shift.
Well, there's a lot of them talking about ending the Fed, which is typically a different thing entirely. What they're protesting is, it ranges from let's get rid of the whole idea of money, let's get rid of corporations, let's separate corporations from government.
That can be handled if they release the nukes.
What do you mean by that?
Not to blow this world back to the rock age. When we wouldn't have corporations and money. It's just like these nutcases that are on TV all day trying to sell gold, sell gold, sell gold. What are you going to do with it? You're going to walk into the food store and say, give me, right? Could you make change for gold if I gave you a bar of gold?
It depends where you go.
Come on. No, but I don't understand what they're talking about. Do away with corporations and money. There's always some sort of an exchange.
We're curious as to why you're here. What brought you out here today?
Okay. I came to this because I think there are many people here who are dissatisfied with the status quo in the United States, particularly in the financial area, and so I decided to bring this poster, which talks a little bit about the Glass-Steagall Act, to this group because I think the rescission of this law is one of the reasons we're here today. It's an obscure law that was passed in our grandparents' time, but it was finally rescinded recently in our time, and I think we're suffering from that, and we'll continue to suffer.
What was it enacted to do? What was the purpose?
It was enacted in 1933, which was the middle of the Depression, and one of the causes of the Depression was banks making very risky investments, losing those investments, and as you remember, during the Depression, many U.S. banks went out of business. You've all heard of that, and one of the reasons because they were making risky investments, they didn't keep enough financial margin to cover their deposits, and many of them went out of business. So Congress responded by passing a very strict description of the banking industry, limitations of the banking industry. That was called the Glass-Steagall Act. It was passed in 1933, and it has served us well for 70 years, but during the last 25 years it's been chipped away by the banking industry. The banking industry has gotten into new areas outside what was allowed under Glass-Steagall.
I came here because I think there's a revolution going on in this country.
What kind of revolution?
I think that there's a potential revolution where we think about the working class taking control of the means of production.
Do you see that as being a good thing?
Absolutely.
What brought you here?
The opportunity to get my message across. We came here today under the banner of ending the Fed.
Congress then repealed Glass-Steagall. Bill Clinton unfortunately signed that legislation, and then the banking industry then expanded its services into high-risk areas. They had some failures, and some of those failures led to the bailouts that you've heard about, the necessity for billion-dollar bailouts. Within 10 years, Congress understood that they'd made a mistake, and there was an effort in Congress to get Glass-Steagall back. That occurred in 2009, and McCain and Cantwell both tried to get it back, and by that time, banking industry was too strong.
It was founded in 1913. Since then, the dollar has lost 95% of its value. There's no authority in the Constitution for a central bank. So, that being said, it's already illegal. It's illegal before you start to debate it. But the end all, I think, is really the Federal Reserve, its lease, I guess you would say, is up in December 31st, 2012. And of course, they're going to renew it unless we have to say about that.
Is the banking situation exclusively a result of not having Glass-Steagall, or were there underlying factors that triggered it?
That's beyond my scope of knowledge. I don't know. I know this is one of the major contributing causes.
I'm in favor of struggle, is what of struggle, of working class struggle. So I would say like kind of like the closest thing is like I would like kind of like the revolutionary experience like right now to be like much closer to what's happening in Egypt, where like you have like a huge like strike wave going like all throughout the country, where you have like people constantly demonstrating, where you have people being like, look, I'm like taking this like space back.
Once you want to keep it legal, maybe we should go there.
Maybe we should go there.
And the hard asses should go over there.
The hard asses should go over there.